This video will show you how to put together the semi-truck with trailer, which is a 3D SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. There it is, completely done. It's rather large, can be cut with a Cricut or Silhouette or other machine using a 12x12 mat. This is part 1. You can see the notes below for the link to part 2, which is mostly the trailer assembly. So in this video I'm going to show you how to put together that truck and trailer. Here is a preview of the truck. So this is what we're going to put together. So you can see we have little gas tank steps, and this is a little bit of a test, so you can see things. We have a little panel that'll go down there. I'll explain it all. And the little this is small. The reason it's so small is so I could kind of make it to scale. So it's 151, I think. We want to be able to get it on a 12x12 mat. So I guess if you had a bigger mat, you could make it slightly bigger. So here's that part, and then we have the trailer. So there it is, and it might go out of focus, but we have the back that opens up. Just because we're getting too close to the camera, but it opens up to add a little gift. And the gift box is about, you'll see when we put it together, but if you're curious, it's about that big. So you can put a little gift card in the back. So there's a little latch. It latches like that. So this goes over and latches. So this is gonna probably be a hard. I'm gonna have to zoom out to do that a little bit to show you that, just because it's so big. But this is like 11 point. I think the longest panel is 11.4, I believe. So I made it long enough to, or big enough so we could get a solid sheet on the side. So it's not easy to make much larger. However, I did separate the file, so we have a complete file with both the truck and trailer. But I also have a complete file with just the truck pieces. And that's if you just want to do this piece. So you could always put like a little box on the back or something, and we'll have a solid panel that covers that. And I think, I haven't done it yet, but right after this video I'm going to have a little pop-up. So look in your extra stuff folder, because we'll also have little clear window acetate pieces if you wanted to put that on and you wanted little actual windows. I didn't include that on mine because it's much easier to be able to get your fingers in here in the openings, but some people will want them. I do know that historically. So one thing before I go any further, this is a time-consuming project, and it's not a beginner project. I mean, this one, it takes probably, with all the steps with the tires to do them properly, it could take 1 to 2 hours. And the only reason I say that is as I do a piece and then I'll let it dry. You can go on to something else. But anyways, there's some recommendations I have with tires when we get to that point. So you can see I pre-assembled them all. But I do have 2 pieces. I'll show you how I did it, okay, and how I put together these 2 tires to make the doubles. So they are small, and that's just because of the nature of the size of the project. So we'll put those aside till later. I just want to make sure that I don't have anything else to say, but I do use these little embellishment bowls to, I just want to make sure I cover everything before we start. That's really what I'm trying to get at. But I use these little embellishment bowls, which is a freebie on our website. This is the actual size, but I enlarged them for some of the larger ones. So it's a freebie. It comes in handy when you have all these little pieces and you don't want to lose it, because there's a bunch of little pieces. So I kind of categorize them, and so when I go through steps, I'll know which ones they are. So that's that. Then all these are the trailer minus some of the details like the latch and the back bumper part. And then this is the main pieces that go along with the truck, the actual truck piece. I mean, other than a lot of the details, obviously. So let's get started, and we're just going to start with some smaller pieces first, so we can get all the little minute piecing done first. So we're going to put all these aside for now. Just going to carefully. So put these where you can't knock it off the table or anything like that. So I'm going to actually put it on the table behind me because I'm in a really small space. And we're going to go ahead and do some of these. So we're going to go ahead and piece together the grill with the light piece. Anyways, I'm going to bring all the pieces out. So most of them are in here. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. So if you don't want to get the whole explanation, you can go ahead and go to forward a little bit. But these are the light pieces. These will go in up here, and it'll have the headlights and a little part for the. I'm trying to find them, see where I put them. So there's two little pieces. So I didn't organize that as well as I thought I did. But there's two little yellow pieces for the lights, but I'm actually not going to use the little circular pieces. But they do cut out little circular light pieces. You can. I'm going to actually use something like this. It's called Nuvo drops. So I'll show you. And it looks like this. So they're all in there, but so we're not going to piece those on. We have these. So these will be little doors on the side, and you can select to put them on the sides of the truck on one or no sides. It's just an option. Just trying to decorate the side of the truck like that. That's how they go together. These piece like this. So I'm not going to go through. I'm just going to piece together a couple of them on camera. So we'll do this, and one of the doors, but they go like that, exactly like that. These, I'll go through, this goes right there. And the lights on top. And this we don't need right now. I don't know I had it in there, but these are the mirrors. So I'm going to put the texture side on the back. You could make this all of metallic. You could play around and see how your metallic paper is. The only reason I didn't use metallics in the file is because typically they're one-sided, so you'd have to do double sides. But there's a way to do that, and a lot of people figured it out. So these are just going to go right there. And then we'll just get the grill for this. These are two pieces that they're just going to fold in half. See there, I didn't make a solid score line version of these because it's so small. So it's going to fold in half like that. Just showing you all the little ins and outs. So do it really gently. So we have two pieces like that. And we're just going to glue along the bar area. These will glue behind. So these are tabs. We're not going to get glue on those, just on the inside there. So we'll glue those together. And then I'll bring out the rest of them to show you. So for the sake of your time, I'm only going to show you, so I've already put these together. So I'm going to show you how to put those together. Put those aside just temporarily. This will be the trailer, and then these are the metallic pieces. Other than these two, these are from the truck, but these are the gas tank, the steps, and the mud flaps. So I'll put these together. I'm not going to talk through it, but I'm going to explain how they go first. And then here, just make sure that the top is going to be the long piece. Okay, and then I just made sure that I use the non-textured side because I want the other side to be textured. So there's no folds on this or anything. You're just going to put them straight. And these will go like these little pieces. We're going to put the light up here, and you'll see shortly. And here are the little orange pieces if you want to add orange lights. But I'm going to add some medium, some sort of drops on it instead, and I'll show you that. You'll see that happening, and then we'll let it dry, and then this goes on the front. So let's go ahead, and then once we get done with that, we'll move on to adding all the pieces, the door pieces, onto these. So I stopped speed assembling for a minute because I realized as I was doing it, I wasn't explaining a couple things. So first off, I'm using a pick-me-up tool from Silhouette. There's other similar like that tools like this. A lot of Diamond Dots creations have those, but this has got a little sticky at the end. So let's clean it off a little bit. It has a little sticky at the end, so it can pick things up like this. So you want to do it really lightly because sometimes it's sticky. That's why it's good to clean it off. The other thing is that you'll see me wiping off. So when you're using metallics, so that's why I stopped it at this point. This is slightly damp paper towel, just with water. And one of the reasons I do not like using metallics is because glue will show so easily on it. So if you have dirty fingertips or glue leakage, you want to wipe it off with a real damp, not real damp, lightly damp, because depends on the paper, so you'll want to test it. So this is Recollections. This particular paper has a craft paper back, and this is from Recollections. So it's really shiny, so it's because I wanted a chrome look. So it does tend to get on this, and it might get on this. So it was getting on these right here, and you can see I just glued everything but the tabs there. So when we glue it, so in this one, we're going to put all this aside. I'm going to put these over here. Those will go in the door pieces. But for this, I'm just going to go ahead and let's get rid of that. Glue this grill together and see if I get any glue leakage. So this is the nice thing about having this fine tip applicator. Just going to go around the edge really lightly. I am using art glitter glue on this particular project. I do like barely art glue too, so we always note that in our product descriptions on our website. I try to note as much as what I use. So we just make sure that's the correct direction. Get that lined up here. So I had a little glue coming through for the little sections, but it'll dry clear. Just get it set. And I can just turn it over and rub on the black part so I don't get any glue on the front. So that's the biggest thing with metallics that you have to worry about. So we're just going to finish this while I'm talking, because I'm going to show you Nuvo, how I'm going to use Nuvo on this part. It's going to sit and dry for a while. Let's just want to place that first. I didn't line up that black as well as I could have. So if you want to get all the details, this is because it's so small, you want to take your time. You don't want to rush on this project. To just be ready to have this span over a couple days, or cut everything one day and do it the next. So this is just going to sit right here. That. Just line it up on the bottom corner here on both sides. Same thing, you can just flip it over. That's a good way to see if everything's straight. So you're just gonna add glue on the back of this little rectangle. Then we'll do the same thing, lining it up in the opposite corner, right here. And then if you just use the paper version of the lights, you could just put a little dab of, we're just going to put them on, it's not going to hurt because I'm just going to add a little bit of the Nuvo drops on top. You could just do it just using a tool like this. You could try to use a tweezers might work. You're going to see a little bit more tools come out than I normally use. So just because we have such a small truck design. So now I'm going to just show you this. I'm going to use these Nuvo drops. One is a clear drop and one is a English mustard. It looks yellow to me, but they call it English mustard. It doesn't look mustard to me. I guess it kind of does though. So I'm just going to put it on. It's like it creates kind of an enamel dot look. You could use enamel dots. So once I do this, obviously these are the things that we can do in advance and put them aside to dry. I just like the look. I did that on the first truck and I liked it. I see a little dot. There was a little air bubble. That's weird. It's because I didn't have it upside down. Normally I have it upside down. And Nuvo takes a while to dry. Usually, like, significantly it'll dry. Oh, this is a little tip too. I put a little dot in the top so I know what color it is when I go looking for these things. And I do store them upside down. So this is just clear. It's going to give it a glass look. This is similar to others might use glossy accents, and I have that as well, but this one's got a nice small tip on it, and I like the way it kind of fills in. I've been known to use stickles too, so different ideas to make it look like headlights. So now we want to carefully reposition that somewhere where you can't touch it so it can dry. So I'm going to move it over, just kind of tapping it a little bit to make sure that it fills a little bit. So then we'll go ahead and put together the rest of these. So we put together one side. So I'm going to show you how to put this together. So we can put this together already. We can actually add the these two. So we'll do that shortly. Basically, they're just going to attach right here. Should have done that before. So we'll show you when I do this next one. See how it goes like this. And a note is if you're going to use the acetate pieces for the windows, this is when you would want to put it on. You can put it on the back of this, and then when it goes on the truck, it won't show it'll hide all the edges. So you want to put that on at this point. So you could always put that on first and then acetate piece, because it's just easier to glue on cardstock than acetate. So I didn't do that first, so let me show you. We'll put this on. I'll show you how to do it on the other one, and I'll glue this one on. You want to put that on before you want to put this on before you glue the little bar, else it'd be hard to get pressure. So I'll fix that, but let's show you on this one. So this one, obviously, we're just going to, just lost my glue bottle here for a minute. Just going to line this up. And just line that opening. Just carefully get it in place so no glue leakage. And the best thing to do is just kind of look at the edges as you do this. Let me get my little towel. So remember, this is just damp, a little damp. And then you can just make sure it's lined up. It's just a little bit off. Not enough to notice. So these two little holes, this one didn't go all the way through, so I'm just gonna poke it through. Those are for the bar piece. So let's go ahead and add this first, and then we'll add the mirror. I just forgot to put that on the last one, but at least I get to show you properly. So it'll be ready to put on when we get the body of the truck done. So whichever way you want to put it. So I put this with the handle down. You just want to emulate it the same way on the other side, or do something completely new. You don't have to use what I placed there. I had to put some detail, and I was just trying to figure out, I looked at a bunch of trucks for reference, and they're both the same way. So you want to go in just a little bit, and the reason why, that we have an exhaust piece that we'll put on almost last, because we don't want to bend it. So we want to make sure we have enough space. And if you need to reference, I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm just looking at the other side. There are no cheater cut lines or anything here. I have those on, and be careful with glue. I got a little bit of glue on there. This is not wet enough. These dry after a little bit. I didn't want to do it too much because I don't want the color to come off. Discolor it. So yes, I can't emphasize enough not to keep your hands clean. So this will go on at the very end if you want to use it, but give enough space if you want to use it. So hopefully that'll dry okay. We're not going to worry about it. Be natural dirt from the road. So now we're going to go ahead and take this, and the long piece is on top, short, and you want it to be, when you're looking at it like this, you want it to be facing you. We're going to manually fold it back when we have to. So I'm going to flip it over. So make sure you have it on the correct side. So this way, upside down, you wouldn't be seeing it. So what we want to do is it should be vertical. You see this little end here, right here? That's where you're going to bring that to the end. But you want to make sure it's above the window. That makes sense. So the nice thing about this is that we're using wet glue, so we can flip it over and adjust it as needed while it's still wet. So we're going to place it down, getting as close to the edge as I can on that bottom, and making sure that they're both above and below that window. And then I'm going to look at it and see if it's straight. I'm going to straighten it out a little bit. So we're just going to manually bend it at one point, but right now we're not going to do that because we want it to be flat. Will be better for when we assemble. So I'll put the other one on, but now we just need to put this little bar on. So what you're going to do is just slide those through gently through these holes, and then we're just going to pull these tabs apart. And then we'll add glue on the outside of the tabs. They may bend weird, and that's okay. You're not going to see the back of this. And I'm pushing through to make sure it's all the way through. It's not. I must have accidentally glued down there. Let's get that fixed. I'm kind of tearing it apart as I splay it out. So I don't care how much glue I get on this side. I'm going to have to wash my fingers, obviously. But I just want to get it through. And there's a bit of glue right here, right there. But I'm not going to worry too much about it. It will dry clear. Just want to get it set in place and just make sure that your tabs are down, because when we glue it on, it'll help glue it down too. And this is where you'd want to put the little clear acetate if you choose to use that. So now we have the two door pieces. The water slightly discolored my blue there, so be really careful. So we're going to put those aside. Put them in a safe place. And the reason we're doing all this detail first, obviously, get out of the way. There's a lot more to go. So these will be for the trailer. So we're going to do these first. So we did a set of mud flaps already. So we're going to do that. So that's just a matter of putting those two there. And then this is a gas tank that I've already done. Probably can be glued a little bit better. We'll fix that. And to fix that, something like that, I'm just going to get a really thin piece of paper, get some glue in that gap, and glue it together. And the reason we're doing it on this because first I just washed my fingers a little bit. You want to make sure that you're good to go as far as that goes. So you don't get glue on the metallics. These are the recollections. And this is double-sided, so some of it's double-sided. If you use double-sided for like these are the steps. You wouldn't need the panels, but I included the panels just in case or for embossing. So I embossed those. Just the bottom step, because the top step would show. A lot of details with this, so not that one. Sorry about that. I use this micro glaze, and it's from Judykins, this one. I think Ranger has a version too. Ironically, they used to sell it at this little craft place that I used to go to early on when before microglaze came out from Ranger, actually. So it was Judykins, which is a stamping company based in California. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna have to wipe my fingers off again, but I'm gonna add this gloss. It's meant for stamping applications mostly, but I like to add a little gloss to it, to an item. So you probably want to wash your hands or test. Some people might not want to put it on their, you can always put it on a tool. I think I have enough for both, but it gives it a little sheen. So, just washing my hand off. I could have put it on after, I just didn't want to get it on the metal. So it gives us a shiny without having to use specialty paper. So I like it. I've used it a lot for things like that. It can be used on, a lot of people use it for stamping, but I found a use in a different way, so I like how it kind of gives me a little shiny cardstock. So you could do it after, but I thought it would be easier for me to show before. I may have to, it's still wet, so you want to just line this up on the bottom because I want the metal to show a little bit on the top, similar to many trucks I've seen. So there's only two sets. One set's for the truck chassis, and the other set is for the trailer. Line it up. So if you're going to go to all the trouble of doing a big project like this, these are the details that will make it. To me, I probably would not make a project like this for somebody without putting little details like this to make it look. I didn't make it super realistic, but I tried to make it as realistic as possible. I'm not a AutoCAD person. I am a crafter, so a lot of it visually I just kind of see what's going to work. Sometimes I do a lot of measuring to make sure they're in proportion, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's perfect. That's not what I do. Okay, so that's done. So I'm taking my time on these because these are a little bit more, they require a little bit talk. So it's a little bit humid here where I'm at right now. So this is the finished one. So there's two panels. This is larger, that bottom panel, and this is for the top. So this one I didn't emboss because it's going to go under the edge like this. So let me show you. So you see that's that part right there. And then the embossed part I put right there. I didn't have the diamond plate, a really small diamond plating embossing folder, so I embossed it with this one. It's called Greater Than pattern from Doris. So I just took that little piece right there, which is the larger of the two pieces, and embossed them. So you can see that's the larger piece, so it'll go down here, and the smaller piece on the top because it just goes under the edge. So let's go ahead, and when you fold it, I'm going to fold it back first because this has a craft paper on the back. It's going to be kind of hard to fold, so I'm going to fold it carefully like that. Fold it up, and the reason I do this is, again, I don't have a double-sided metallic paper, so I felt like that would be the way to get maximum usage by cutting it this way. So, but if you had double-sided metallic cardstock, which I'm using on the trailer, potentially you may not want or need these panels. So this is the top one, which is smaller, so the smaller one goes on top. So we're just going to go ahead and line it up carefully. Have a little bit of glue on my hands. So once I get it lined up, I can place it down and apply pressure. Metallics take a little bit more time to glue, but fortunately I'm going craft paper to craft paper. So it looks like I got just a little bit of glue on my fingertips there, but it won't be noticeable because it's under. You want to make sure that edge is clean. And then we'll do this bottom part. So if you don't want all my commentary, I mean, you know, if you, let's see which way it goes, to the right. You could always mute me. I know somebody is telling me all the time that they don't like my talking. I'm not quite sure why, but this is just the nature of me, and I like to explain things. I always teach to a beginner level and then go up from there because I never know who's watching, right? So if you know how to do this stuff, you can skip ahead. But those are those. And then this is just going to fold like any other hexagon, so I'm just wiping my fingers off with this really quick. You want to just fold it. And it's going to be easier with the thinner, like I said, metallic. I've done it in gray. I did it in gray only. I think gray would work out instead of metallics if you didn't want that, but if you want to go all out, just take your time and use metallics. So we're just going to go flat right there. Because it's metallic, I'm not going to get the glue too close to the edge there because I don't want it getting on that too much. It's going to, by the way. And then we'll just go flat. And there's going to be an extra little gap there, but you're not going to see that. That'll attach to the side of the truck. So once you get that glued, so it does take a little longer when you're gluing something to the metallic part. So here, these will take longer to dry. So what we're going to do is add glue to the, fold those tabs in. You kind of want them up a little bit so it'll grab hold. So I'm going to put some light glue as close to the side. So if you can kind of get it on there but lightly, depends on your type of glue you use, so just you have to be familiar with the glue you use. And you could always cut another piece out. Remember, it's not the end of the world if something doesn't work out. These are small pieces, and even if you want to practice before you do your final one. Then we're just going to fold it over. Let me fold this in first so we can put it down easily. So we're going to fold that over. Now I got glue on my fingertips, which I knew as soon as I did that. And we're just going to get it in place as best you can, line it up. So if you can see, I'm kind of squeezing in the sides to get it. There we go. I'll show you in a minute, but you just want to make sure you get it into place. And then hold it as long as you need to. And then you can flip it over, and if you wanted, at least for this side, you can reach in with a tool, like my wooden chopstick, and apply additional pressure on those tabs. You're not going to be able to do that for the second side, but first side you can. The other side's just going to be pure pressure. So that's why you might get minor gaps, but I don't think it's that bad, honestly. We can just ink the edges a little bit to hide the gaps. So same thing here. Just line it up, and then I'm going to push in the sides a little bit to line up those edges. Then we can just go put it upside down like that. So really quick, if you're wondering what I meant by ink the edges, here's Distress Oxide ink, and you could use a lot of different inks. I'm also using a Fantastics. So I just like to, I want to do these little small edges, so I need a small tool. So I'm just going to dab it in a little bit, and then I'm just going to get the excess off so there's not too much, and then I'm just going to lightly ink the edges here. So I'm just dabbing it with the additional ink. Yes, I'm using Distress Ink Oxide, and so you even could, like, because you know it's not going to be the cleanest, but however, kind of make it look distressed. So remember, it's going to be on the side. Oops, there we go. We're having some issues with this is because of metallic paper. There we go. So when you see it, and then you could do the same with this. So if it was going in and out, I didn't notice earlier, but you could do it on the table right there, just to get a little thinking. So I'm going to just move that out of the way. So I apologize if you got like some blurriness. So that's what I mean by inking. So I carefully placed all my little finished pieces in here. And so now these are pieces from the trailer only. So let's go ahead and start with easy things here. So this is the bumper. Let's get this flowing here. And this is double-sided basil, I think that's how you say basil. Anyways, it's a basil cardstock. So we're going to place this red. I'm making sure that the texture is going to show through, so I'm putting the texture side down. We're just going to line it up over. This is slightly smaller than from that, because we don't want to see it on the edge. We just want the red to show through. So with this one, after it dries, I'll add a little bit of this to gloss those up too, because I did that on the grill. For these, we just want to put these two together, so we're just going to glue these back to back like that to make a sturdier latch. That's the latch that'll go on the back that will rotate with the little mini brad. So I'm not going to show that. Well, I will real quick. Hey, I lie. And that black piece is, so you want to get these good and lined up, and it's really just for strength. The black piece that I'm working right above there is the piece that will go underneath the trailer to attach the trailer to the truck. So there's a little hexagon, I call it a connector. Again, I'm still being careful with glue. So you want to line that up, and then the nice part about doing all this too, it lets it dry. Oops, just knocked over a little. And then this one, I think this one's harder than that one, so we'll do this. There's little cut lines in here. Let's see if I can get it, because it's metallic, it's not going to zoom in very well. There we go. See the little cut lines? Okay, there's also cut lines in this, which essentially are scores. See that one? We're going to fold it gently on those two cut lines. And this is a pretty thick cardstock, so it's going to take a little bit more bending than normal. But I wanted this to be sturdy enough to do my boxes. So we're going to glue it on the back like that. You see that? So we're going to glue these two tabs on the back of this piece. Got too much glue on that one. It's going to be the place where we place the latch. So that's the front, because it has deeper cut lines. All those cut lines for on this piece right here are to help us know where to place this so it's centered. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that one tab first. This is pretty thick paper, so, and just be careful not to bend these. Like I said, because it's metallic on metallic, it takes longer, and it's a thick cardstock. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. Put a dab of glue on that. Make sure it's straight using those cut lines. And we're going to go ahead and glue it to the back. So I'm just going to apply pressure, and I'm showing you this specifically for one excuse me, one part. So when you have them on the back like that, we'll just wipe off that excess glue so it doesn't get anywhere where it doesn't need to on the front. We won't see that when we have it glued on. And take this really thin part of the stylus and work it into this, and you don't want to bend anything. Just going to gently work it under. A little bit thicker than I thought it would be, so let's get something a little thinner. I don't want to scratch it or anything. So I carefully, this is just kind of a little, like almost a pick thing. I got that in there, but I really want this. So I just wanted enough room to be able to get this in. And just to give it a little room, all I'm doing is kind of getting it prepped for the latch. So if you don't use really thick cardstock, which I tested it on the thinner cardstock. I tested it with American Crafts, non-metallic, but this is, did I say it right, basil or basil? So anyways, B-A-Z-Z-I-L-L. And so this is not as bendable, so keep that in mind, but I used kind of like a pick to get in there underneath there. But I wanted a gap so when we do the latch, it'll latch in. So this will latch in like this. So we can just store it like that to give it a little thickness. And so when you open and close it, it should go a little bit smoother, but as we work it in and out here before we put it on the trailer, that'll work. So that's that piece. And this darn silver doesn't like the camera. So let's go ahead and do this last piece. So here I just have cut score lines because you're never going to see this piece. So I didn't make solid score lines because I just don't think it was necessary for this one. So you want to fold all the tabs like that. These are going to fold eventually out, so you want to train them out. But we're not going to do anything to them now, but you want to train them back and forth. Then it folds like this. So it's just a little hexagon. So it's similar to the hexagon we did earlier, but just smaller. Let me show you what it looks like made, so you can understand what we're using them for. So that's the connector that will sit on the back of the truck and fit in. So that's what we're making. So I'm going to flatten this. Any hexagon or polygonal like this that's all equal sides will go flat like this. I remember early on I didn't know that, and somebody reached out to me, another crafter, and said you could have done that flat, and I didn't realize it. So sometimes you just don't know. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but because it's super excuse me, super tiny. I have a dry cough. I don't know what the deal is. Since it's super tiny, I'm just kind of showing you. So make sure that's, you see those little tabs, these are going to fold down. You're not going to worry about these tall tabs right now. But these little tabs are going to fold down just like we did the gas tank. And we're just going to close it up. Make it as clean as possible. So I have them sitting up. I'm just going to, for some reason with black having humidity is hard to really fold this. I think it's the ink. I'm sure there's somebody out there that knows the chemistry of such paper and dyes together. So now I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to hold it in place, get it in place. Just getting that excess glue off. And then we can flip it over and we can apply pressure. And hopefully we won't have any more out of blurry photos for you here. This is a long project, so it said if you want to stop and continue, you can do that easily. We have little video chapters. So now we just want to make sure that's good and glued on like that, and then we can put it aside. I'm going to put it with the trailer item. So I have all the trailer pieces that I put together already in one little place, and then the truck in one little place. So it's all ready. So these come in handy. So next we're going to work on the tires. So I didn't want to put you through the painful process of me putting together all these tires. So I'm going to show you how, I'm going to do two of them because I want to show you a couple things. Tips on putting them together, and showing you how I put them together for the double tires. So we have two of them here, and I use I cut the, it's not a solid score line. And the reason I don't use solid score, I didn't do it on here. One thing I want to note, and it's probably too late if somebody already cut this out, but if you're using a Cricut score tool or score wheel, this is just too small to work correctly. You're better off cutting the dashes. So that's originally how these were done, before, because they'll fold better. And no matter what, this is not the easiest thing to do. This is why I will not call this a beginner project. I will say it time and time again. This is something that even people that have been doing it for a while, and me, will have difficulty putting together. So just let you know that. The tires are some of the most time consuming, so that's the reason why I didn't put it on video. So here's a finished single one and a double one. So you'll see on the back, I'll explain why I do this. So I want to explain everything, and then I have little hubcap pieces that will be in different colors. So okay, so first what I would suggest you doing if you're going to do all the tires is to do it in bunches in a methodical way. So what I found works for me is I glued all of them like this first. So there's a little cut line right there, and that cut line, let's see if I can get it. Anyways, there's a cut line that just helps you line up this other side. you just want it slightly, if I'm looking at it that way, to the right or below it, looking at it vertically. So let's go ahead and glue one. So what I did was, I did it in, I did all the loops first. So I just put a little glue there, lined it up, and you can see, if you want to make sure, if you have dark paper, you might want to fold these ones that are adjacent to make sure that you're lining it up right in the center there. If it's off a little, not a big deal, but you don't want it skewed to one side. These tires are never going to be perfect. I mean, if somebody does a perfect tire, I'd be surprised. So like that. So the reason why I did them all at once is because I was finding if I started putting the inner or putting the sides on and everything too quickly, that it would pull this apart, but this gives it time to dry. So, and then put it down like that, and then do the other one. So I just kind of curl it slightly. So when you're doing, so what I did is basically did all these in loops first, let them sit and dry for a bit, worked on something else, and then went back and did the panels, because the panels itself take a lot of time. So I'm going to fold it over, line it up. So I'm doing two for the purpose of showing you twice, just in case I have some issues with my video that you can't see. Push those to the side there. That's causing some blurry focusing issues. So make sure you just get a good amount of glue on it. And we're going to assume that I sat and dry for a while. The next thing we want to do, we're going to take one of these panels and put them inside and glue them on the inside. And what it'll do is, I just threw that one away. We're going to have the tabs glue on the outside on one side always. Why I did this was twofold. First of all, it's much faster. So I timed myself just putting the panel on the outside, which you can. And I timed it, and it was about 60 to 70 seconds for each panel. When I put this one on the inside, it was about 40 seconds once I got, you know, on a roll. So it will save you some time, and it doesn't make a significant difference the way it looks. And the nice thing is that these little tabs here, when we put them together to make the double tires, it kind of creates a natural gap there. And you kind of can see it. You won't see it on the final project because of the way it's built. You'll see it, but you won't see it. If that makes sense. So that's the reason I did it that way. But you can, you know, everybody has the, if they want to put, I'm going to show you how I do it, and then one side is on the outside, so you'll know how to do that if you want to do both sides that way. It really is up to the individual, but I'm letting you know what the time difference is. And I would probably always, the other reason why you want to put them on the inside is to help shape it in a circular. If you don't have one on the inside, it's not going to help you shape it. So these are good to get good folded. So we're just doing one side so we can get that one inside. You'll also notice that I pulled this out, and I pulled this out when I was doing the details. But the other reason is the way that I glue these on, I'm going to get a lot of glue on the surface that I'm working on. So I just don't want to get my surface full of glue. I couldn't find my craft mat either, so we're just going with this. So I'm going to go ahead and take one of these. Yeah, so I'm still having a little blurry. We're going to go ahead and add glue. Oops, to the edges. I'm going to move that around. That's a little bit too thick. I'll do it again. All of them are going to be like this. And then we're just going to slowly insert this. It'll insert better if you get a good edge on those folds. And then we're just going to go around and apply pressure. So you could get pretty fast at doing it this way. I think I got it down to about, I don't know, 30 seconds, but the reason is because you want to make sure that all those tabs are glued and that they don't pull apart. See, I put a little glue on the bottom, so it's trying to glue to that. So that's what it'll look like on that side. So let's do that on the other one too. So one more time in doing that. I found that these are sharply folded down as much as you could do. So I'm using my finger right here. Trying to make sure, see if I can, it's just these little items in this focus a little bit weird. So I have a little glue on my fingertip here. And let's go ahead and add glue. Just gonna go around the edge here, and I always put it on the non-textured side if you're using textured paper. Like this is, the black is to American Crafts. Always keep a wet paper towel handy. You can't see it, but we're okay if the glue gets on the bottom and the inside. But when we do the top part, we'll have to be careful. See, one thing that can happen is this can roll these, so make sure they're flat. And it's just big enough to get your finger around, or you could use a tool like this in the inside. And so now we're going to fold the top part down. The difference here, you don't want to fold it too far in because you need it to grab, because there's no way for us to get pressure from the other side. So we need the glue to kind of help grab that panel when we glue it on top. So a lot of the key to this is just getting a good fold. You still want to get good fold, just not all the way in. So let's go ahead and we'll do this. So I found you could add glue to the individual tabs if you want to. That's up to you. So what I did basically was then did all the innards. So all of them, I did the loop, and then I put the innards in on all 18 tires, and then I came back and put this top panel. One thing I want to make sure that you don't worry about is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It'll look right once you get it together, but do the best you can. So you can see how much glue I'm adding, right, like there. So I'm going to go over on this one, just place it, and then we'll just go ahead, and since we put that first one in, it's helping us to shape it, and we're just going around the edge. So you can see why this takes a little longer. So I want to get into place first so it looks as circular as possible. If you have any glue leakage, you want to do that right away because it's a black tire. And then you can go like this to apply pressure, and just make sure you're doing it on a clean portion of what you're working on. I actually did all these on a glass mat that I have, so I didn't care where the glue got on it. So I got a lot of glue on it. And do it so just to minimize the gap here. So the second one, we'll do the same. See, the beauty about this, and this is the reason why I did two of them. The beauty about this is that if you only have 10 outward facing tires. So there's 18, but only 10 are going to be on the outside. So you want to keep this as clean as possible because some of them are going to be the outside tires. But you can pick and choose which ones are the best once you're done. So that's the nice part. So let's get that up there. So this is just being patient, getting it lined up, maybe pushing it in a little bit, but not squishing it. Again, it's been humid here, so we're whatever reason, it's really hard to work with paper. It folds differently. So once you get into place, flip it over. So for the single tires, we're gonna, for 10 of the tires, you want to find the best 10 that are going to be on the outside. You see why it takes so long to do the top panel. So if you want to do both sides like that, you can see it takes some time, but there's no need. So get the 10 best, and so all you're going to do, I don't need 2 of those. You're going to take the best ones and put the hubcap, so obviously it's going to be a different color, but I just did this and then placed it like that, and then I just centered it until visually it felt like it was centered. So just, so that's this tire here. You could also add a little bit more accents, like a enamel dot right in the middle or something like that. So I realized how small these are. I was hesitant about doing this design because I wanted to make it 12 by 12 friendly, matte friendly, and I realized how small the tires were going to have to be. So I was a little hesitant. So here's the other tip now. So when we're doing the double tires, you're going to take one. So once you have your 10 that you like, let me show you double right here. We're going to take one, obviously one with the little hubcap piece on it and one without. And we're going to place them back to back. So the front tires are single tires of the truck, but on the back of the truck and trailer, they're double tires. So that was the beauty of putting these. So I did it differently before with a little like piece of foam tape, but these, having these little tabs on the outside, actually create kind of a gap. So what you want to do is glue them together and line up these seams. So you want to line up the seams because we're going to place it strategically so you can't see those seams on the actual trucks and trailer. So all we have to do is, you don't have to get all the way to the edge, just add glue to the center of this. Make sure the seams line up, these seams right here, and then center it. And then what you want to do is line it up like that, then go around, make sure that they're lined up, and then you'll want to take some time to apply pressure. So probably about 10-15 seconds on each. Just be consistent so you have a consistent gap. I even used, when I did a couple of them, I even used the Distress Oxide. I did a couple at once and then I kind of pushed them down with it. So you can use anything that you have at your disposal to do that. And then that creates that double tire. So here are the pieces for, this is the cab part, and these would be the hood pieces. These are the wheel wells. So and this is the bottom, so we don't need to do that yet. So we're just going to do this part right here. Now I'll show you how to glue all the rest of it. So this one, to make sure we fold it as shown, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to continue folding it. I already folded it on the top. So this will be the top. And then when we get to here, so because the first part we're going to fold it in and glue it on the outside right there, like that, on both sides. But let's go ahead and fold the remaining tabs. So here, when this is really thin, it's a hard place to fold. For both sides, you just want to go against the table and fold gently up like that. Again, same thing. There's another one right there. Right there. So you can see the folds are right there. And then we'll fold the remainder. So this is the front of it. And then these little tabs on the side. So if you need to get them on the table to do it, just gently fold them up. And again, I can't stress enough, if you're going to use a Cricut, you probably want to use dashed cut lines. It just won't fold well enough for you. I used a silhouette, and I scored, I did like a kiss cut score using a blade. So that's how I did it. I wish Cricut would add that capability, but they have not. So we're going to go ahead now and add glue to, I'll just start with the first couple here. The first two on the edge here. You can see I added glue to those two. Just going to fold it in like this. You can do it, there's two ways we can do it, like this, manually, then making sure that the edge of this is sitting in the inside tab fold. So you can do it tab by tab. So after you get the first one set, we're just going to do the last 4 of these type of tabs. Like I mentioned, I'm using art glitter glue. Get a good coverage on this. Then we're going to have a panel over there, so we're just going to fold those in. So only go up. Do not do the one next to the windshield. And I'm going to flip it over on its side like that, and we can even fold that out a little bit. And I'm reaching in, let's see if I can get an angle on it. I'm going to reach in and glue them on the bottom. So basically I'm starting where, let's see if we can open that up. You can see I'm just going to go across, start where I started, and push them in from the side underneath until we get to that last tab. We want to make sure it looks good on that side. So the biggest thing, we're just making sure that this edge gets seated in that inside tab fold to get the correct shape, and so we'll be able to finish it. So for this side, you can do it the same way. I just can't show you. We can do them all at once. So again, let's go only up to this one. Let's not do the, just pulling it back a little bit like that. And we're going to fold this in like that. Fold those up like that. And then we'll put it flat, and we'll start from, I'm just reaching in, I'm going to start from right here. And I'm pushing it up and putting pressure on that first tab, and then I'll slowly go to the right, pushing this in, going around the edge. So if you've never seen doing shaped items like this, I didn't make it perfectly round because it's harder to do it, but it's just basically pushing it in as you go down, or you could do it like this to make sure. So that last one wasn't pushed in. So you can see this one, that one lifted just a bit, but it's not going to make any difference. And the reason why I didn't do a complete round top is to make it easier for those that wanted to do this project, and trying to just eliminate frustration, that's all. But I could have made it smooth up there. Smoother is smaller tabs, and smaller tabs are harder to glue on. So now we're going to do these last 2 tabs. And I would say, I would recommend, oh, before that, if you did want to put the clear acetate, you would have to put it in there before you close this up. So I just forgot to tell you that. That's the only place where you have to put it inside first. So now, these are really teeny tabs. So you're going to just fold those over. So making sure it's just big enough to go up to the edge so it doesn't go over the opening. And then we fold like that. And just make sure that the edge of this is on the inside fold here. Just make sure those are good. And so if you do put windows on, it's going to be hard to get your finger in here, but at least you can get in the side window, because if you did do windows, I think I noted earlier that you could put the acetate on the back of this, so you still could get your finger in there. to apply pressure. Or underneath, by the way, inside like that, or like that. So let's get these last two glued. So we have a variety of other projects. This is just one of them. So if you haven't gone and visited our website, we're at simplycraftysvgs.com. Let's continue this. And we have a bunch of freebies that you can, as of this video, 100 plus free files that you can purchase. So once we have these on, now we can add the side panels that we did earlier. So they'll just glue onto the side like that. So we'll carefully glue those on. So we already added glue, and you can see how we added glue carefully around the edge. So you just want to get a good amount on the edge here. And we want to keep that bottom off, the bottom panel off, because we want to be able to reach in. So we're just going to line it up with the window and the edges. Get it in place first. Make sure it's lined up. Okay, so because of this bar, we can't put it flat. So we want to apply pressure with our fingers. Until it's good and secure. So, and keep those, don't do anything with these, just try to keep your fingers away from that as much as possible. You get tweezers, you can just run them along. But we don't want to touch those until the very end because we don't want to do anything to them. We want them to look pretty good at the end. This was just a better time. I had put it on at a different time, and this was just a better time. So even when it sits, it's sitting on that bar. So if you do like this project, or any of our projects really, always ask if you could give us a thumbs up, like, and or subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. If you hit that little notification bell to the right, you'll be notified when we have new projects, new tutorials, or anything like that, just new videos. So we're just lining this up. I don't know if you noticed when I was, before I put this on, you see it's a little messy. I inked it a little bit because I had, earlier I wanted to look a little grungy. So I had wiped it off over here, and it kind of, I pulled off any of the color, so I just kind of make it intentionally grungy looking. So. The first one I didn't do that, but this one I did. What I could have done is just redone that panel, but I chose not to recut things out. So just take the time to get these on securely, and then we can move on to the next step. So now we can add that bottom panel. So this one, let's start with the front. So this is slightly bigger, as you can see these are angled. What we want to do is anchor this piece, so they pre-fold them down. But I'm going to fold this up just a little bit so I can just glue this on that way. So I'm just going to add glue. This allows me to anchor that front from the front. So I'm just going to line it up. Line the edge up to the tab fold. You can see it's lined up left and right. I'll pick it up in a minute because I see those. See, like that. a little bit to the right. Then we're going to go ahead and add glue to these. And I guess, oh, if you wanted to add the optional steering wheel, you might want to add it before here. So if that's in the file, it's solid on the bottom, so you can add some foam tape or glue to it. I only add these details because I know a couple have used them in the past, so I honestly would not normally use them, so because it's such a small design. So I'm just folding this over, lining it up with those tabs, and we want to gently rub to get it attached. I'm just pushing in the sides a little bit to get it lined up. And we can't, get our hands in there, so you need to make sure. You could, however, if you don't have any windows, come through the front and use this to apply additional pressure. So there's a benefit to not having windows. So all the optional windows are optional because majority of the people probably are, I would not suggest to use. So, but those that are advanced they do all sorts of things to our files. And I love looking at it. I love seeing what you do. So that's the front. It's a little empty without the hood piece, so let's go ahead and make that hood piece. So we have these pieces, so let's go ahead and move that over there. So we're going to go ahead and fold it. You can see how it's folded. This is the hood. This is the front of the hood. This is the back. This is the front and bottom, I should say. And then we have the side pieces. I put them on the wrong sides, but anyways, these are the wheel wells. So the way that we fold this, so I want to make sure we're going to do these first. I'm going to do one, I'm going to fold it, and I'll assemble one on camera, the other one I'll do off camera. But you want to carefully fold them. These fold downwards, like that, folds like that. You want to pre-fold these down, but they're going to fold kind of backwards. So we're going to fold on the inside of the sides of the hood. So we're just pre-folding them. Can curl this a little bit. So other than, this is not time consuming, but this is one you need to pay attention to how it comes together. I have a little stray piece of paper that didn't cut right. So now that we have it folded, I'm going to show you how you put this together. So we're going to fold it like this. So there's a tab, the tab doesn't go all the way to the end. So I was actually omitting this last part. So the way it's going to fold is like this. We're going to glue around here, go here, and then this is going to go inside. It can go on the outside too, but inside's going to fit better. So we want to make this tight. So I'm going to do all of them at the same time. Let's make sure this video comes out before I decide not to do the other side. So I'm just going to wipe that tip off because it's getting excess glue. And I have a different cleaner one. So I'm just going to start there, and you can see I'm lining this up so that edge meets the tab fold. I'm kind of using my thumb to help guide it. So I want to get that nice and tight. And then go to the next one. Trying to keep glue because you don't want glue on the outside here. And we're just going to go tab by tab. So that's what it looks like on the inside. It's as big as I could make the tabs without it not fitting here. And then it might be a little tight at the end, but you want to get that glued on, so that's what it looks like on the inside. And then you're going to gently fold that down, If it's kind of seems like it's not over the last tab, just fold it down. It'll be fine. So I'm just going to fold it down. I'm just kind of forcing it down because I want to make sure that it doesn't. We can glue this tab, so we're going to add glue here. It's a very, very tight fit, so you get as close as possible right there. So I folded it over, and this is where the headlight's going to be. Remember, we have a panel that will go on the front here. This is where one side of the light will be. So get that as tight as possible. So here, that's what it looks like on the side. So as you're going over it, so I feel like this is warrants a second one for me to do on camera. So I'm just going to do that for those that might want to just forward past this. So I'm just going to make sure these are trained forward first. Then try to curl this with my fingers a little bit. I'm holding this side so I don't pull on it to break it. So you want to get it as tight as possible around this edge. So once you get that first one down, so if you get it tight there, as you go tab by tab, so you want to start here, go backwards to the next one, so my finger's back there. Let's get that out of the way for, it's causing me, when I have something else that's taller, it throws off my focus. You can see I'm just going tab by tab, but also making sure that this is lined up. This edge doesn't come jutting out. Then we get that. So if you continue and just kind of go as tight as possible, then this will fold down. So you can fold that over to glue. So I'm pushing that down. Push that down, line that up. Line up. Can't imagine how many of these that I've actually created to get to this point. And again, ink does a lot, so when you get to this jack right here, you can always ink that. And that's what I did. And I'll do that on the other one as well. You want to make sure it's good and secure. And this was a little bit off here, but having that front panel is going to really get it in place. So I had a little ink still on here from earlier. So we're just going around the edges. Since I decided this is a grungy truck. But you can see I didn't do any inking on this one. So that's, so you can see I have a little bit of a gap there, but that's a different place, but you can barely even tell. I'm just trying to keep the look. So now we want to go ahead and attach the front and back. So the way we want to do it, there's a slight angle. The piece I'm holding is flat. The angle is right here. So this is the front. So we're gonna, you can see it's folded. So make sure it's good and folded where it needs to be. And it's kind of a tight fit, but we're just gonna kind of slide it in. Start with one side or the other. So I've started, you can see I'm holding it that way. Remember, I don't care if a little glue gets on this, I don't care because I have a panel that's going to go there. And then we make sure that middle lines up. It is a real slight fold. It gives it a little definition with a little shape, but not a whole lot. again, I wanted to make a design that it's not a beginner project, but most people that have been doing this kind of thing could do it fairly easy by just watching my instructions. So I had to be careful how many complex folds I did. I never wanted to make anything, for the most part, that anybody can do, and I believe anybody can do this. I just think that you have to have, if you don't do this all the time, then don't expect it to come out perfect looking the first time you do it. But that's okay, because practice makes perfect. I mean, a lot of us have had a lot of practice. So this is the same thing we did on the other side. The difference is this is the flat one, and we're lining it up opposite kind of here. It's the same. It's the same exact way we did the other one. So you're just slightly folding it when you need to get it lined up. So if you get that first one in place and then kind of fold it, get that other one. So that's the back. So again, we don't care if we get glue on the back either, really. It's really this part we have to be careful of, and these sides. So you might want to let it sit for a little bit before we put the sides on. But let me get this other piece out before I forget. So this is going to go on the front just to give it a little bit more dimension. You could pop it up a little bit if you wanted to, but I just like to put it up. I'll just ink the edges a little bit. Then these, get these out. Once we get these attached, these will go inside here. Just making sure I put them in the right one. Of course, I always choose the wrong one first when I'm demoing. So this will go inside to create that little black accent, like a little vent on the side of the hood. And then this will glue on the bottom. So just showing you different elements so you understand how it's going to go together. It's literally going to be like that. So we're going to go ahead and just glue these on first before we put the bottom piece on. So let's go ahead and I'll do one side on camera and then the next one off, so you don't have to be watching the entire time. So watch carefully this, I'll just do one side. So they're the opposite of each other. So this is the front. So this is where the light's going to go, like that. So it's going to go attach. It'll go like this, and it'll go off like this, like that. So let me just show you step by step here. So we're going to do the one on the right. Go ahead and start from the front. So again, you want to get these folded up. We'll just add glue to the first two tabs. And get it nice, and don't get it too thick, but get enough on there to adhere. Make sure you have it on the correct side, so you should see, if you're on the right hand side, the tab should go towards the left, and you should have that big light piece in front, not that small piece. And if you're on the left, you want the tabs pointing to the right, and with this in the front. So going to go ahead and start these two, just get those two glued on the inside. So you see I'm starting right here, and we're gluing it on the inside like that. So once we get the first two anchored, we can come in here. The reason I put it together this way is so it'd be easy for you to glue this on. So hopefully you can still see it. I'm not always looking up at the screen that shows me how it looks like to you. So that's why you make it blurry video every once in a while. So we're going to continue. And we're gluing it on the back, tab by tab. So you just continue in order until you get to this back piece here. So you can see on the inside. And that last tab should not go over this fold in the inside. So it should just go right up to it, if you can see it. It might be even shorter on your version. I think I'm going to make it slightly shorter, so just in case somebody gets it off kilter a little bit. I can make last minute changes, and sometimes I do when I'm making my videos. I'm not ashamed to tell you that, because I'd rather it be right or a little bit more pleasurable. There's always going to be something that's a little bit difficult on a design. I do my best. So we're going to do the same on the other side, like that. So we'll go ahead and put this on the same way. And then we'll go ahead and go to the next step. So once we got the other side on, like that, we're going to go ahead and glue these inside pieces. So make sure you have the correct one. I'm just going to glue it right in there. And make sure it doesn't overlap, go over any of these folds. We want it right in between. It's slightly smaller so it should fit just fine in there. So to create that. So let's put that other side. So the way that I glue it is just it doesn't go all the way to the edge, but we'll just go around. Make sure you can see where the folds are. And a little bit around, but not too close to that opening. And make sure the texture side is down and it's in the correct orientation. Then I'm just going to make sure that I'm able to fold everything around it. I will nudge it around so it's not impeding any of the folding mechanism there. It's another thing to secure those tabs too, which is nice. So make sure it's good in there. So now we can go ahead and glue these on. So it's going to look kind of weird at the beginning. So you can glue these on the inside or outside. It doesn't matter. So if you want to do the inside, you go like that. But don't worry about this because that'll be adjusted when we put the front grille on. So we're going to go ahead. We'll put them on the insides to make it flatter to glue that panel. But again, you can put them on the outside if you wanted. Just be careful, just kind of bend that wheel well back. Get it lined up on the side here. And it can go forward like that. I did that on purpose, so if it seems like it's weird, it is odd until you see the top front panel go on. But I found it was hard to, even with the tab, if you glued the tab on incorrectly on the side there, then it would be crooked. So the panels was going to keep those from being crooked. Let me go ahead and just lining this edge up. Get that excess off so it doesn't show on the side. It can show in the front because we're going to cover it, but on the side you do not want it showing. So I'm just reaching inside and applying pressure. And it's been probably about, if you're watching this video from the beginning, probably for the very beginning, I don't know what time it is now, but it's probably been at least 3 hours, so this had time to dry. not on the video, but since I first recorded that first part, it is time consuming, unfortunately, for me. So we're going to go ahead and glue this on the front, like that. So we want to only add glue, we're just kind of space it, pull these apart a little bit, add glue on this front piece first. And trust me, it's going to come together. So you don't want to add glue on this, because this is longer than the panel. So we're going to line it up on the top. And it's up to about there. You can see where it ends right there. So I'm just feeling where the fold is with my fingers inside and applying pressure that way. You see how those Nuvo drops that I had earlier are dry. So we have shiny headlights. And okay, so once we have that on, I'm just going to carefully add glue inside here. So I'm going to add glue on these two. Oops, don't do it that way. We'll do one at a time. So I added glue underneath there, and I'm just going to pull this out and line up this edge right here to glue that in place and just straighten it out. I'm going to use these little tweezers to help me get in there. I don't want to do any damage to my lights. So whatever you can use to get in there to apply pressure, right there. So the same thing on the other side, you can pull it away slightly. Just and get some glue in there. Okay, now pull it out a little bit. Line it up. So I'm lining it up on the top as well. I didn't have it lined up completely. There we go. And it kind of flares them out a little bit, which kind of gives it a fun look. You just need to make sure you can get in there. And I have thick fingers, so I'm hitting this. But it flaps back and forth, so you can flap it in. So that's what it looks like on the inside. So leaving this open on the back helped, so we could get in there, which is nice. And at this point, you could pop this on if you wanted to. I do want to add a little ink to this. Just adding ink to this top piece, and then we'll add it here. It's very slight, so it's not that noticeable. Making sure that I don't go over so you can't see that glue. Thin part on the front. Thick on the back. And that glue should, since I know blue comes off easily, I'm not going to rub that really hard. So the last piece we need to do is to glue on these tabs. So you can glue them on the back, but I think it's better to glue them on the inside. You can reach in to apply pressure. You can also use a tool. I often use wood chopsticks, as many as you know, to reach in if you need that. But I can fit in pretty good. Same thing here. Can reach in fairly well. Just make sure it's good and secure before you put the bottom part on. So these are going to flare out a little bit, so you can kind of manipulate them a little bit, but once we put it on the base, it'll be all good. So we want to go ahead and glue this on like that, or you can glue it the other way too. So before we glue it, if you do it that way, obviously you're not going to be able to get much under. You can try to use the really thin tool. I don't even think I can get this underneath it. So what I would do, this is just so we can glue it on to the base. So this is how it works for me. So make sure it's not pushed in too much. Make sure it's up just a little bit. So just a little bit, so it'll grab it. I'm just going to lightly place it down, making sure it's centered on that tab. I'm pushing in just a little bit. So everything I'm doing is with a light hand, and it's okay if I have glue on this part and this part. So if you get a little bit of glue, don't worry. So you can't easily reach underneath there, but this is the easiest way I found to do this part. So there's other ways. It's just for this particular design and have the open wheel wells. The key is just to have it glued enough so when we get the base put together that we'll be able to glue it to the base right here. So there it is. We're ready to go with the base, but if you want to get a little bit of a preview, there it is. Goes about right there. So we still haven't folded those mirrors back, but I'm just trying to keep them pristine until we're done. So these are the base pieces for the truck. So these are little tire guides, and I'll explain where those go after we put together these little base boxes. These base boxes will create the height and stability for the truck to sit on, which will be like this part right here. And you can see that little holes there for the trailer to slip into. So, and if you just do the truck by itself, there'll be a solid panel that you can just put right over there. So the reason I did it, I forgot to mention earlier that you know, the truck will have its own file, a complete file. People just want to do this part, so it's easy. I don't have a complete file for the trailer, but you know, I may add that. But anyhow, because I have to split up the file that way, so it's just easier to put them together. But you can always pull the trailer pieces out. So we're going to go ahead and put these together. So I marked these in white. So 1, 2, 3. So the reason is just the placement. So that's front, middle, back. And so we'll go ahead and put these together. Now these all go together similarly. So I'm only going to put one together on camera. So all of them will go together this way. So we'll just take this one. So they're all the same. You just need to fold them on their score lines. But you'll notice all of them are the same. So if I go like this, you can see they glue together the same. So we're just going to do one, and then all the other two I'll do off camera. Okay. So let's pick number 2 here. And like I said, it just cuts the number out, so you'll see it, but I just put it in white so you can see it on the video. So we're going to put those aside. So we're going to go ahead and make sure this is folded well.
And I found that gluing this side is easier first, the side with the bottom flap with the number on it. But it's like super, just a kind of a simple box. So all this is to create height and strength of the base of the box. So we're going to go ahead and glue the first tab in. And this is, by the way, going to be the way that we're going to do the trailer has base boxes too. The difference is the trailer, all three of them are the same size exactly. So it's the same exact thing. And their sole purpose, there's a couple purposes to it, but their sole purpose is just to give stability to the truck. And the nice part about this, it doesn't matter if you get a little glue on the side, because we have these little panels that we can put on the side. And the only place you're going to have to be careful is the one with the hexagon opening, and just to not get glue on the top. My basic rule is just to not get glue anywhere if you can help it. Be as careful as possible. Having that glue bottle in the shot is causing me some difficulty. I'm going to change after this I'm going to change my camera setting to see if I can get it not to blur as much. It's been a while since I did a video, and for some reason something happened on my camera and I had to reset it, so to take notes on what I change next time so I can change it back. Making videos sometimes, I mean, kind of wish I was back to doing it. I just got a little bit of on there. Doing the videos on like an iPhone or something, because it's way easier. Believe it or not, sometimes it comes out better, but this camera has better sound on it and everything. I don't have anything really, really fancy, but so there we go. We glued all those 4 tabs in. So you just want to make sure they're good and sturdy. Again, this is just a function box, although try to do your best to keep it clean of glue. Yeah, I will note to you always when I feel like you could be a little bit messier with glue versus not. So then just fold that over. I realized I try not to do as much black on camera anymore, but this was to me a pretty simple box. So I'm just kind of squishing the sides in and the panels to get it lined up. And even though I know it can cover that, I don't like it showing, so. So we're going to do that for the other 2 boxes, and then once I have those put together, you want to take your time to put them together. We'll go ahead and put them on the base that we have. Okay, so now that we have these boxes done, they have numbers on them for a reason. So 1, so it's going to fit on the front. So here's this one. It's got a little wetness on there. I just put more water on this on my and ready. So this is 2. And this is 3. So the reason for the different things on here, so this is a little hexagon, so you know it has to go towards 3, and that little oval means the front, and it corresponds to this little oval here. So these are tire guides to help us place the tires. But first we need to get these on here. So what we want to do, I'm just going to place them here. They should be mostly the right length. I think I started at the back before. Let's see. Because they could get, so the variable is at the thickness of the actual cardstock. So you can go either way, but I think it's easier going from the back to the front. So they're in order. Remember that little hexagon's toward the back. This hexagon should be closer to the back than the front. So there should be more space up here. So we're going to place this down. So we're going to line it up. I'm going to just pick it up really quick to make sure it's lined up. I'm going to push it just a little bit in this bottom. So this is just to help get us the shape and to keep all the base boxes together. So it's not anything, and it cleans it up on the bottom too. So now we're going to go like this. Do the second one, which is higher than the first, remembering that the oval goes towards the little rectangular oval. It's not really an oval, it's like a rounded rectangle, and this goes to the front. But we need to add a little glue on this end piece. It's smaller than the one that we're putting it on. This is taller, this middle one. I'm just gonna make sure it's lined up while the glue is wet. I'm kind of going to push in a little bit without. There's not a whole lot that you can screw up, but of course you don't want to push too hard to collapse this end. I didn't line those up the best. You want to line them up on the side, but we'll have something to hide it. So we have this that we'll be able to put on the side. Like that, to hide that gap. You can't put that on yet. Then the last one, you just need to put it on the correct way. So if you put it that way, it's not square, so it's wider than it is long. And then we're going to glue that there. So that we'll glue that there. So when you glue this on, I already put glue on the bottom. You can only go part way up. And you can't go across because it's wider. So you need to put a little glue at the bottom there. And then we're just going to line it up. So I'm lining it up. And I'm going to hold it in place there. So you want to hold it in place as long as possible. And you can see I avoided getting glue on this back piece because this is visible. Have a little glue there. I did pretty good on the front one too. But you want to hold it as long, so I'm kind of pushing down and pushing inward. Get a little pressure going on. You could use hot glue gun if you wanted to. I'm not a fan of hot glue because it can just snap right off. I spent years fixing crafts that my mom made with Christmas crafts. Wooden ones that she made with hot glue, and I have to hot glue them like every year. So, you know, I've seen things snap off. So I try to make this, it holds better. I have a little leakage there, but that's okay, and I could always use a small tool to get rid of it. There's always more than one use to a tool that you have. So before we put these side panels on, we're going to put these tire guides. So these will allow us to know exactly where to place the tires. So this lines up, this hexagon. So you want to line this one up with the hexagon. And this one, I have that cut out. That means it goes towards there. So make sure you put the cutout towards the other oval there, or oval or rectangle. But those should be in the right next to each other. I try to think of everything that might confuse somebody, but I can't get them all, so I'm sure I missed something. If somebody's curious about it, it took this design I've been working on probably on and off for at least 3 weeks. So at least. So I added glue on the top to get that lined up. So now I'm going to add glue on the sides. So and the 3 weeks encompassed many versions of I think the actual front of the truck was the most particular, but all the little tweaks that I wanted to make that I didn't like, and at one point I had to stop. So this is where we stopped. You can always continue to improve a design no matter what. So I don't think it's just a matter of when you decide to say, okay, I'm done. So but I can't put that on upside down. So be careful not to push those in too much, but they truly are there just to help us attach the tires. It's the first time I'm doing it like this. I've done it in different ways with different designs. So you have another method. I don't dislike this method. I like others I've done. I had to do it with all these different shapes, and make it sturdy. So this way, this is just going to go on like that, and then we can actually add these side panels now. So I'm going to add one. So you know how this goes on. This is just going to go on like this, just like that one. So we're going to add glue here and right there and there, and get it in place. Just making sure. The reason you have to point it that way is because of space. I mean, it looks the same, but it's slightly different from the front to the back. So let's go ahead and put these side ones on, and then I'll put that front tire guide on. So here, if you need to trim it a little, you can. If for some reason it overlaps, so you can just trim the front just a little bit. So just dry fit it. It looks like it's going to fit fairly well, but you don't want to put this on until after the tire guides are on. All this is doing is getting rid of this gap. So it's not 100% necessary. I've done them without it. And when you put the gas tanks on and all that fun stuff, you put the gas tank on, it hides it. So it's just one of those cleanup items I like to add if you want them. I mean, most people, if you cut them out, use them. Of course, now I'm getting glue on the top. If I'm going to wipe it, I'm going to wipe it consistently so it wears in the same places on the other side. And I don't care about the glue on this because I'm going to hide that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the other panel on the other side, and we're going to add this. So, and then we'll go to the next step. So at this point, we just need to add all the additional things that we need to add. So we have the main things we need to add first are the tires. And the reason you want to do that is to give it stability, because if I keep on pushing on these, it's just going to fold over on these little things here. So we want on the front, we want to do single. So we have single ones. What I'm going to suggest is always make sure you know where the seam is. So I'm going to go ahead and move those. You want to make sure you know where the seam is, so you can put the seam either towards the back. For this one, I would say towards, kind of at an angle towards the back up, like that. So it's not as noticeable when the wheel wells are put on. So we'll do that on both sides. So you just want to add glue all the way to the edges here. And have a wet paper towel ready just in case you need to do a little cleanup. Make sure you understand for this one we're going to put the seam. So always put the seam where you think it won't be seen. So I'll note that on every addition here. Put just a little bit too much glue. So we'll fix that next time. So go inward a little bit more. So I'm lining it up with the bottom here. Trying to eliminate the glue, so I'm just, once you get it in place, you can go ahead and apply pressure a little bit like that. And you will have to hold them just a little bit. Just make sure you get them pretty much close into the... It just determines how the wheel well sits over. So just to give you an indication, let me go ahead and angle that over. So that's why we have that. So you can see that's in the right place. So on the other side, I'm going to take the single one, and again we can put the glue on there, but let's go ahead this time, put the glue towards the middle, try not to get too close to the edge, or just put it lighter. I'm going to angle it towards the back again, the seam. And you can easily knock it off, so you got to be careful, make sure it's nice and glued on first. So you're going to want to hold it a goodly amount of time. But the most important thing is lining it up with that circular guide so it's in the right place. And I don't have much gluing against the edge here, so you want to hold those in particular. These will glue onto the base a little bit more than the other. It's about the same. I think it's the trailer that does better. I'm just gonna see if I can get that glue off a little bit. So now we'll put the bottom one. So the way that we're going to do it, I'm not going to go through everything, but the seams right here, it works best if you put them inward towards each other. So the front one, the seam is about right there, or down a little bit, because you won't see it when the other one's on. Oh, actually, you can go straight in. So it's up to you. Just pay attention to those little details because it'll make a difference. So because this is flat on the back, it'll glue a little bit better than the front ones. But you do have to hold them. So I'm going to put that seam towards the second set of tires. I'm going to line it up. Like that. And then you want to hold them. And I put too much glue. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of that out. Going a little heavy. After I've been doing the video for a while, it just might a little heavy on the glue. So you want to hold them in place. And if you're wondering, you know, if you make it without the trailer, you're going to see the tire, but you're just going to see the shape with the trailer on it. The trailer's going to sit up to here. I'm going towards the right for some reason. Or left on your screen. I'm sorry, left. My other left. So we're going to continue doing that. And again, I'm going to put the seam towards the other one so it's not visible on the top. And we'll do the same on the other side. So we'll add those tires, and next we'll add the hood and the cab. So now we have all the tires on. This is the front. So what we're going to do is go ahead and angle this on. But we're going to add glue in a minute, but I'm going to show you how it angles on. So you want to gently start from the front. Well, you can start from the back. The back actually works better. Do the back to the front, and then it'll be centered. So you can see how that goes. So this is, we can go ahead and add glue on this. I'm just going to go inward a little bit, just in case I have to go back and forth on it. So we're going to go back to front, like that. Place it down, we want to make sure that you can see this lines up with the base. So the bottom of this, the hood, lines up with the base, and then it'll glue down. So you can see it's solid, but you know that that's a different shape down there. So you want to hold it in place for a little bit. And you could theoretically glue this to the front as well if you wanted to put a bead of glue in there, but it really isn't that necessary. But you do want to hold it a bit. So I'm still holding it while I'm going to show you how the second one goes on. So at this point, let's go ahead and just making sure this is getting secured. Let's go ahead and bend these back. So what I want you to do is to just gently, we're going to bend at the same place at the top as the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to bend it here and there. And you could use a tool like this to help you to curl it around. I didn't want to put any cut marks there. Sometimes they tend to be more of a hindrance than good, depending on the item that you're doing it. You see we're trying to get it kind of straight from the front. So the same thing here. It's just hard to get around here. Let's try to do it here. The top one's harder to bend than the bottom one. And you can work on that. I mean, but now you can see it. So you just need to be careful not to tear it off when you're working on it. But this part shouldn't do that. You're going to glue it to the front. So we needed those out of the way. The width of this is the same width as this bottom part right here. So we're going to go ahead and line it up on the left and right. It should line up in the middle. And the hood piece will go slightly above. I'm going to glue up here. Don't go any further down because that'll be visible. It won't because we'll put steps there, but so make sure it's facing towards the front. Keep it going to my left. I'm going to center it, so I'm looking from the sides, but now I'm going to look from the other side. You got to add glue to the bottom too. Okay. Add glue right here. There's my blooper. That's when I know I'm getting tired. So there are some cut lines on here to help you center it. But if we center the front, it should line up in place. But we're going to check the bottom. So you shouldn't see any cut lines. That's really the point of it, is that if it's centered, cut lines really you can see it's about the same. But I put them there just in case. So now I'm pushing forward and push from the grill. Be careful of those little lights because you can bend them off. Made them a little thicker than my first version, and I'm kind of pushing down at the same time to get it together. I wanted the windshield opening to be as large as possible, so that's why it's the size it is. I had it thinner, but I think it takes away from the look of a 18-wheeler if you have a smaller windshield. So really you need to hold it as long as you need to get it in place. So now you can see it's taking shape. So now we have some details. So I have all the details. So there you go. All of my remaining details are in here, I believe. make sure we have our steps. So that little black piece for the steps, and we have the bumper, which will go like that. So I'm going to curl it slightly. You have to be careful with metallics like this. I haven't done it, so let's see how it goes. I'm just going to curl the ends. And that's okay, it kind of bends it a little bit, but if I'm consistent on both sides, I like it curled a little bit. Each type of paper you work with will be slightly different in the way that it reacts. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the bumper here, and then we'll add the steps here. So the steps will go there, and then there's that big flat side. We can put that with a little gap in between, like that. And then we have this that goes on the back. So, and this is for the steps, and I'll show you where that goes. So let's go ahead and put the steps on. So this is what we prepped earlier. So it doesn't matter which one I choose. I'm going to add glue right here. And a little bit on the top. Don't go beyond halfway so it doesn't seep out. So you want to go underneath right there. And I'm going to place it basically almost right up to the end there. So I'm pushing it in, and you can see the glue seeping out the top. And I'm also pushing it up at the same time to make sure it fits on the side there. And you do have to be careful with glue still because you're on metallics. That's just the general. So I'm not going to try to clean up any of that glue. I'm just going to hope that the glue that's seeping up there, that it dries naturally, because otherwise I might do more harm unless I use a really thin tool. So on the other side, and the reason I'm doing this right now is so I can show you how that black piece goes. I'm going to add less glue on the top this time. Just enough to get in. I got a little glue there. This is going to go like this. So it may be slightly, let's see, I don't have it all the way down. So it may not be perfect to go across, but it's going to line up. I'm going to make it so it's a little bit longer, so you can trim it if you needed to. And longer and thicker. So we just don't want it going over the edges, so I'm going to center this. So I'll just make it longer that way, because we don't want it to show too much underneath. The purpose of it is solely to keep the, I'm being really careful about those. Be careful how you place it, because we don't want to tear off those mirrors. I don't want to be able to see this coming out the end. So you could resize it a little bit longer. So dry fit it. If you don't like it, I'm not going to change it. You don't like it, go ahead and just make it slightly longer. You don't want it to go that much. You don't want it to go that thicker, because if you go thicker, then it will show on the edge, and it takes away from the look. Every cardstock's different, so I don't want to change a file if just based on my cardstock alone. So now I'm just going to add the gas tanks. So place a little gap between the two. I'm going to have it sticking, I like it sticking slightly out behind the trailer. And you could actually have it go down a little bit more. I'm gonna have it not touching. And then the other side we'll do the same. So make a note where you put the other one. So you put it just the same place, so we can go ahead. We'll add glue. I didn't add as much because it was leaking out the side. Just gonna go like that, and I'm going to try to make sure that the gap's the same on the other side. So I'm just lightly placing there before I do it. Look on the other side, kind of giving it the same gap from the cab, like that. And then you might want to give it a moment to glue. And if you do get any fingerprints or anything, you can just clean them off. This would look perfectly fine with the gray, not a metallic. But I have to go all out when it comes to the chrome. So now we can go ahead and add the, I'm not going to do the bumper yet, I'll do that last. We're going to add this. So you want to line it up at the top and center it. So line it up at the top and then center it. So we're just going to add glue right here. That's all it's going to touch. I probably added too much glue. You might want to add it to the item. And I'm just making sure it's centered. Go a little higher. Right, almost to the edge yet. Just make sure you get it set before, in place where you want it before the glue sets. So we have the mud flaps on. So now we're going to add these. So you can do it, just kind of lay it gently on its side. They're going to go backwards, so just make sure that's pointed back. You could just add a little bead of glue right here. Line it up on the back. Line it up with the back and on the bottom. Of course, these are optional. Just wanted to add as much. Wanted to make it look like a truck. So this is the reason why we didn't put this on until last, because those are easily bending. You could double layer it. If you want it stronger, you could cut two and glue them together. So you can see how I'm gently doing that. So it's probably going to adjust those a little bit. Let me get the second one on. So to me, this is the first half of the project. This is like a project in itself. The whole project is like two projects, in my opinion. The back is some of the repetitive, but a little bit different. So you might want to make it double-sided, because you see this side, this is craft paper on the other side, so you could double-side it if you wanted to, and put back to back, and to make, if you had a paper like that. So that's it. So again, you need to just be careful of those mirrors. So let's go ahead and put on the bumper. So I think I want about that much. I'm going to take this. So these are thin pieces that I got from Amazon. I got them for shaker cards, but I figured I could put them next to each other to make a thicker one. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to cut this in half. So you could use a thicker foam tape. I just have a ton of this, so I might as well use it. So I'm going to flip it on the other side. Make sure that it's the right size. This one's a little bit longer. I think I want it shorter, so I'm going to... Oh, and tip 2, this is my pair of scissors for anything that's sticky. I have a pair of scissors for that. So I think we're going to put it on here to make it easier. We have a crooked tire there. So we're just going to go ahead and put these side by side. So I'll just line that bottom one up. Line it to the bottom. That one strip will hold it though. So if you have something like this, because I don't necessarily want to see the strip, but I want it thicker. So I'm going to go ahead and center it. And there you go. I am probably going to replace that because I bent it a little bit. So, but for the point of the video, the truck portion is finished. So if you're just making this, it's kind of a fun project. Oh, if you were just doing the truck and you do the truck, like I said, there's a complete file just for the truck. You could go ahead and just put there's going to be a little fifth wheel hitch that you can put on, or just a flat panel, or both. So onto the trailer.